We're back, we're racing, and we are talking the post-race reaction from the Japanese Grand Prix of 2019. It's a bit of a different weekend. We had the Saturday disrupted due to the typhoon, which was looming over Japan. And that meant for an early qualifying session on the Sunday morning. If you're in the UK like me, that was about 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And the race itself at 6 o'clock. So it looked like a fabulous day for a race. Ferrari got a front row. And it was Vettel who looked to take advantage, got that pole position slot. And all eyes were on the Toro Rosso and Red Bull boys because they've got the Honda in the back of them. You can see many fans here love these hats, man. I love the fans of Japan. They always come up with some quirky stuff. Here we can see that little hesitation there from Sebastian Vettel. He did stop before the lights went out, and that's what saved him a penalty in this Grand Prix. Ultimately, Valtteri Bottas got an amazing start, got that slingshot, got around Vettel into the lead of the race, and it was just for him to command from that point of view. Hamilton a bit tardy there off the start, bit of out of position, but it was Max Verstappen who come off the worst out of everyone. He was on the outside there, and it just took a little understeer of Charles Leclerc, cold tyres, and being behind the following car as well. Look at that, Valtteri Bottas, beautiful. On the traction there, just got the right slingshot, and the corner was his from there. And some great driving here in the opening phases, not to make contact. Look at that, side by side, and this one just trying to keep his foot in there. Charles Leclerc should have pulled out of it maybe. And there you can see already debris off the back of Charles Leclerc coming on. You can see some liquid here up on the Haas. K-Mag making a good start there. Racing Point looking really racy at this stage as well. Sergio was pulling off some great moves, and we'll get on to him in a bit because he had a bit of an interesting race. Here we can see Charles Leclerc going down into turn one, gets behind his teammate, goes to the inside. He's got Max Verstappen on the outside there, and when he gets behind that turbulent air, that's just where he just really washes away, and you can already see the front left mirror already damaged, wobbling around there compared to the right one, and he's got some bits of debris flowing off his car. And it was the end of the day for Max Verstappen. He had really bad damage, and it cost him. And Charles Leclerc, he held up Lewis Hamilton. He had damage on the front right of his car. And here we can see following Lewis Hamilton on board here. If we go to an outside shot. Coming down the back straight there, coming towards 130R. And he decides to give up and to go. And you can just look at this. Smashes the car. If that had been the driver's helmet, I hate to think what would have happened. But luckily, Lewis survived to fight another day, minus a wing mirror, damage to his car. Probably made it a bit lighter, a bit more aero-friendly. But yeah, I think they should have protected the drivers in that scenario. I was really disappointed that the stewards didn't get involved. Waved that flag straight away pretty much when there's that flailing, carbon, because it is like bullets, that stuff. You know how sharp and strong it is. And coming flying towards him, even with a halo, it's not going to save him. And we saw it also affect the Lando Norris race as well, because he got some caught up in his brakes, and he didn't have the pace after that. So damage to Lewis's car there, as you can see, it struck the top of the halo. So that was dangerous. Lewis Hamilton hit the debris. The replay would suggest that the front end plate did come away, and Hamilton went straight through it. It's a chunky piece of bodywork. Lewis was lucky. He was very lucky from Mark Webber, who knows all about racing. And we can just see the damage here to Lewis's car and how close it was to being. We saw with Felipe Massa, like with a road part coming off a car. We've got to be careful. And I think there needs to be better protection for the drivers going forward. If anything like that is spotted, it should be reprimanded and, given a slower, time delta to get back to the pits. I don't know what would happen. Or maybe a VSC, for instance. From there in, it was all about the battle for second, and Sebastian Vettel done a mighty job to hold off the fast-charging Lewis Hamilton, who was initially supposed to go in a one-stop. And, he should have eked out the tyres. He was questioning whether to go on the hards. He really wanted to challenge for the win, but it was a 1-3 for Mercedes. They clinched another 6 consecutive title for the constructors, and they've also secured the Drivers' Championship. It's just got to be decided if it's this man, Valtteri Bottas, or the more likely prospect of Lewis Hamilton for another championship for his 6th world title in the coming races. Nice little touch there with the Nicky hat. And it was Bottas, Vettel, Hamilton, Albon with a great performance. Carlos Sainz, really pacey, keeping up with some of the big boys. And then Charles Leclerc, Ricardo, Gasly with a great finish in P8, Perez P9, We'll talk about that later. Hulkenberg P10, Stroll 11, Kvyat 12, Norris 13, really disappointing. Kimi Raikkonen 14, Grosjean 15, Giovinazzi 16, Magnificent 17, Russell 18, Kubica 19th, and Verstappen was the only one which was a retirement from the Grand Prix. Now, the reason we said about Perez was because he had a crash and the timing, there was a malfunction with it or something like that. So it meant that it was count back by a lap, I think it was, when it actually came out. So it was a lap before the end of the race, the actual classification. And as you can see, it managed to bag him a couple of points there. So Valtteri Bottas, he looks like a man reborn again. Just amazing what a win does for you. Driver of the day, really controlled it, looked in a class of his own at the front there. And 6 world titles for Mercedes. What an achievement. They've overtaken Ferrari in that stats department. And here you can see the pit stop strategies. Everyone's selecting for a 2-stop strategy there to really maximize the pace. Because of the Saturday, the lack of running as well, that really hampered them in terms of the strategy, knowing what the tyres could really do. It was Lewis Hamilton with the fastest lap with that extra point there, which helped clinch the title and this weekend. And it's Hamilton on 338 to Bottas 274. Then it's a big fight for third with Leclerc on 223 and Vettel catching up to Max Verstappen there. Mercedes on 612 points to Ferrari's 435. Then it's Red Bull 323. McLaren solid in fourth with 111 to their competition with 75 points. Fastest pit stops, again, no surprise for Williams there. And Max Verstappen just showing Leclerc, you know what happens when you get behind another car. You know it can go a bit understeery. And we're making history. It's funny, with anything you do, if you are getting success, sometimes it's tricky to realize that. Sometimes you have to take a step back to properly appreciate it. And they really need to pat themselves on the back, Mercedes, from coming in, from taking over from Brawn. And today has been an emotional roller coaster. We were disappointed because we weren't quick enough in qualifying. And now we've won the race and also both championships, which is hard to fully grasp. Toto there, a bit stoked for words. I think he was a bit caught by surprise. They didn't really expect to do it this weekend. Looking at Ferrari, looking at the pace they had. But Valtteri Bottas with that amazing start and Vettel with his unfortunate one really, cost them. And that was the race done at the first corner, you could say, wrapped up. And Mercedes have taken another massive advantage. They've been operationally A-class, and no one is touching them in terms of their race operation. And that's what's really the defining factor, the strategy, the calls at the right time. And Mercedes are there when they need to be, or at least one of their drivers are. Mostly it's been Lewis this season, but Valtteri as well has been a strong driver for Mercedes, picking up some great results and another win for the Finn with a great feeling for them. And thank you to Nicky. Nicky's helped build this legacy at Mercedes, and it's really powering Toto and the team through. It seems that Lewis, he's had a few ups and downs recently. He's going to get a 6th title. I'm very happy it was close in qualifying, and starting third here is never easy, but no point ever to give up. I had a really nice start and the pace was super good. I could really control the race. I'm proud of the team. And so he should be. Like we say, class in his own. And Lewis Hamilton a bit off the boil, a bit out of position from qualifying, but nevertheless a great result for Mercedes. But Lewis Hamilton wasn't too pleased on the radio. But massive tribute to this team at Mercedes and what they've achieved over the last 6 years. I think it's coming to an end. I think Ferrari are there. Next season is going to be really telling who's going to challenge these. And I think Charles Leclerc's going to be the one to really displace Lewis Hamilton in his quest for Michael Schumacher's records. Some great images here from the Japanese Grand Prix with this background really light. For everybody at Daimler, this achievement is not just a source of great pride. It is also a demonstration of our company's capability to succeed when tackling the biggest challenges. So a really proud Marcus Schaefer there from the Daimler Group for that achievement. Lewis said, "I'm so happy for the team. What a great result. 6 consecutive double titles is an amazing achievement and has taken a long time and a lot of hard work to get where they are." So, really happy with that. He come out with this on his private account saying, "Honestly, I feel like giving up, shutting down completely. Why bothering when the world is such a mess?" Talking about vegan, eating animals, all of this. And we don't really understand where he's going with that, giving up on everything. Really, Lewis, you've got the world at your feet. You're an amazing, you can inspire, you can create change. So I don't understand the negativity and why these statements are coming out from him. Moving on to Ferrari. Ferrari. You've got everything, man. You've got everything. You just need to deliver. You just really need to nail it down and just to get a good race, clean race. And it was P2 for Vettel, P6 for Leclerc, who later got penalties after the race for his first lap collision, and also the subsequent dangerous driving with that loose debris on the car. And Vettel, he looked like the alpha in this weekend. He looked like he had the pace in qualifying. He put it on pole position, but then off the line didn't look really feisty. Had that little error where the lights were on for so long, he said, and he just jumped the start. So disappointing for him. Charles Leclerc having to fight back through the field, after pitting early on in the race. And some really good overtakes from Charles Leclerc, showing his potential, but also showing his inexperience with that first lap incident. He could have just kept his nose out of it, fight another day. No, he's got that power underneath him in that Ferrari, because it is got some jet plane mode on it, and it does take off. So the starting lights were on a long time, but it was my mistake. Instead of a poor start, I had a really poor start, and after that we were just lacked a little pace. It was a tough afternoon to maintain second place. Overall, it's been a positive day. And you could there's a feel good factor around Vettel at the minute. He looks resurgent. I'm happy because I want to see him stay in the sport. We saw him going wheel to wheel with Lewis at the closing laps. I think good result for Vettel. A tardy starting on pole. You never want to finish anywhere other than first position, but you can build on it for next season. Come with another wind of confidence, hopefully with a competitive car for the championship. And like I said, they've just got to nail it down. Moving on to Aston Martin Red Bull Racing, Honda's home Grand Prix at Honda's custom-built track at Suzuka. What we're hoping for? We're hoping for an amazing race. They've taken engine penalties and all sorts coming into the previous races in order to have the best opportunity to deliver for the home fans. And Max Verstappen, of course, is the best chance of delivering a victory. But look at that damage down the side of the car there. Really hampered him, and he had to retire from the Grand Prix early on. And real disappointment. It was up to Alexander Albon to lead the line and to fight for the team. But another frustrating day going wheel to wheel. Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. This is going to go on and rumble for years and years and years. Alexander Albon, though, P4, solid result, and expect to see him get that 2020 seat soon. Lando Norris, good opening phase of the Grand Prix. Was caught up in that debris behind Lewis Hamilton in the early phases of the Grand Prix, and he had some I think it was braking issues. He had some debris in the front of the car which affected him, and it was up to Carlos Sainz, who really had pace. He was really happy with the balance of the car, and he managed to get P5. So for a first visit to Suzuka, Albon did exceptionally well, as did Gasly, who finished in the points after just missing out of the top 10 last year in Suzuka. Today's result did not live up to our expectations, so we want to come back stronger next year and give our fans something more to cheer about. So we're very critical.
Guys,
moving back to McLaren.
A bit more special than others. Finally, we had some serious pace to hold on Leclerc, and I was seeing Albon in front, so this was serious. I'm very proud of you guys. Such a nice car and a decent driver.
So Carlos Sainz, he's really been one of the positives of this season, and a real good feel-good factor again at McLaren, are really challenging the likes of the Red Bull and also the Ferrari in terms of pace. In the opening phases, they look really feisty off the line as well. In the last few Grand Prix, they've been challenging, getting wheel-to-wheel with the likes of Mercedes, Red Bulls, etc. Disappointing for the young Norris. He had wheel-to-wheel contact with Albon. Albon flew it up the inside, and he had some damage, had to pit very early, which displaced Norris, and he was really out of the points running from that point onwards. So here we can see the clear-up crew of Norris and Sainz. That's what we love about their dynamic. Ricardo said P16 in qualifying was far from ideal, but being in the points is I'm a lot happier than I was a few hours ago. I'm craving a shoey, but let's be conservative, but also realistic. First half of next year, let's get it off. He wants podiums. He wants to taste that champagne. And yes, he wants to put it in his shoe and drink it out of it. But P7 for Daniel Ricciardo, really strong drive, and Nico P10. The team deserved this result today. We've been on a bit of a frustrating run recently without scoring. So to take 7th today is excellent. We had an issue in qualifying with both of the rear of the car. The boys fixed, which explained why we're quite far down. We had a good pace in the race, and we're coming through quite nicely. Starting on the medium tyre worked to our advantage, and we came through the pack with some enjoyable battles. it was nice to execute a good strategy. We pulled through in the end, and we deserved quite comfortably 7th place. So good strategy for them, able to do that, starting down in P16. Was in the right place at the right time, and so looking at strong. There has been a big protest against Renault, and it's about a predetermined brake bias throughout the Grand Prix when the weight's coming down to distribute it a bit different, and that could be considered a driver aid. Moving on to Toro Rosso at their home Grand Prix. Real positive day for Gasly. Kvyat could have done a bit better, and they've sort of tailed off towards the end of this year. They're showing signs of glimmer, but they're not really vying for that podium position, as it were, in Formula 1.5. Gasly looks a lot more rejuvenated, though, I have to say that, in the Toro Rosso. Moving on to Racing Point, Lance, your boy, finished P10, and Perez was DNF, but actually finished P9 because of the countback. It was all a mess with them timings, like I say. And making some strides now, Racing Point, looking a bit more solid, scoring a bit more consistent points. And looking a good race car. If you give it to Stroll and he's getting P10, it's not a too shabby car. And expect to see better of them next year. And Haas, what has happened to Haas? Oh my God. Over a single lap, they're not too bad. But when it comes to race pace, they're just miles off. Roman Grosjean, again, I hate the boy. I hate to watch him. I think it's a waste of seats. But this car really needs to improve. I think it's a bit of a dud this year. There was vying for, P4 in the championship in the last few years, but now it's P15, P17 after completing the race. So I started last and got up to P12, which is fairly happy about. But after that, we went south. If I had started where I should have and made a good start as I did, then obviously it would have been a much better position. So this morning qualifying for Roman wasn't so bad. He got into Q3, which is a highlight of the day. As soon as we got racing, though, we fell out of the tyre window, and we end up like we did today. It's pretty frustrating, but not unexpected. It's not like we were surprised. Just real difficult product. You just got to focus, I think, now on next year's car. Put all resources behind that and just write off this season because, this car is a bit of a mule. It's just not working. And just focus on 2020 and build from there. And this is Roman. He was making a model on Saturday of the 6-wheeler Tyrrell, and that was just a bit of fun. So moving on to Alfa Romeo. Kimi Raikkonen has gone a bit cold. He is the Iceman, but it's not been the greatest second half of the year. Look at this, some lovely up-close photos of a bit of exposed F1 pornography. We look at like a close-up look of the Alfa here. Looking at the brakes, looking at the front end of the car. What a beauty. I love this. Seeing all the intricacies of an F1 car. Giovinazzi, will he remain in that seat? There's speculation it could be Nico Hülkenberg taking his seat for next year. But I think the Italians will favour staying with the Italian. It just brings a lot more positive press, PR, patriotism, you could say. And I don't think Hülkenberg will get that seat unless Giovinazzi has a real mare in the upcoming few Grand Prix. The Iceman, Kimi Raikkonen, he looks like he's not going anywhere. He looks like, he'll have a good weekend, soon enough. So don't write the Iceman off. Williams, they finished the Grand Prix 18th and 19th. They had a bit of a better weekend. They've done an amazing job. The guys have done another amazing job to get the car ready. I really appreciate their work. Robert Kubica, after smashing it before qualifying even got underway, pretty much, and just completely ballsed up and put it in the wall. Just got on the grass a little bit, and it just pulled him into the barrier. And the mechanics got a new chassis out completely, bolted everything on it, and got him out there for the race to start from the pit lane. So Georgie Russell, a great talent, a bit wasted where he is. Again, I hope it's just Williams putting all of their focus now on the 2020 project and really getting a lot of weight behind that in the hopes of jumping, a few seconds up the grid because they really need to get the cutting end of the Grand Prix circuit. It was an incredibly tricky race for us. It was definitely one of the tougher races of the season for George Russell. And this circuit is really testing the car's capabilities and putting trust in the drivers. Here we can see some new, projected sort of F1 stats there with the tyre
Do you
usage.
confirm me that we need to box?
Here we can see a brave Charles Leclerc who's trying to hold on to his win where he doesn't want that. That's another missile that could come off. Going through 130 yard just with his left hand. That's brave. That's confidence as well within his car. And Valtteri Bottas, no one's won the race from the second row. Hold my fucking porridge, motherfuckers. And he got out and he was bulletproof, mate. He was just Valtteri 2.0. He's not normally strong on the first set of tyres, but bolted out, got clean air, and never looked back, that guy. Lewis Hamilton throwing his toys out the pram this weekend. Not really happy with the car. Didn't really get the best setup, understanding, probably because of Saturday. He normally dials it in, gets the confidence within qualifying. But nevertheless, a great achievement for the team. So what do you expect? Do you expect Lewis Hamilton to wrap it up in the next edition at Mexico for our next race? We also heard another reports as well about another race in South Florida, Miami, around the Hard Rock Arena. That could be proposed for 2021. 2021, we've also heard rumors of new entries into Formula One, a Spanish-backed team coming into the sport again. Honda, they're not too sure if they're going to extend beyond the current limitations because they're waiting for the Concord Agreement to 2021 to really lock in all thoughts and opinions. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching another We're Racing video. Of course, give me a like, subscribe, give me a little comment. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Who was your driver of the day? And what was your favorite moment of the day? Yeah, catch you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.